Well, howdy, folks. Daryl Keith Norman again here. Hope you all had a good week and you aren't all snowed in. Here we've got our first snow of the year, but not going anywhere because of COVID, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, I've had a lot of questions. Um, for those who want to subscribe, it should be free. So just hit the subscribe button. If it comes up charging you something, you're pressing the wrong button. So do the free one. There's no charge to this at all. I'm not selling anything. It's just a way for people to hear my songs, and there's nothing for sale here. So it's just me having fun, and hopefully you're having fun listening to it. So anyway, this week's song is called Heavenly Acres, written by Tom Botkin and myself. I hope you like it. Here she comes, and I'll be back at the other side. We'll have a little chat about it. All right.
Susie's sitting on the porch in the leather recliner, smoking them Marlboro Reds, drinking Busch Light and losing her mind. She liked to bust her boyfriend's head. He ain't real smart, cause he just got caught whistling across the street. That's Cindy Ledbetter, that little homewrecker, washing windows and cut off jeans. Well, it's work all day for minimum wage. His baby's in the police on the way. His smiles and tears and broken hearts at the Heavenly Acres Trailer Park. Mama's on the couch, rollers in her hair, dinner's burning on a foreman grill. And Junior's in hiding cause he's been trying one of Granddaddy's little blue pills. Dr. Phil's show just came on, but we can't hear the TV, cause he's cussing and fussing and fighting and drinking in the trailer next door to me. Well, it's work all day for minimum wage. His baby's in the police on the way. His smiles and tears and broken hearts at the Heavenly Acres Trailer Park. It's a break-up, make-up way of life. We barely mind, barely getting by. It's work all day for minimum wage. Baby's and the police on the way. His smiles and tears and broken heart. Well, it's work all day for minimum wage. His baby's and the police on the way. His smiles and tears and broken hearts at the Heavenly Acres Trailer Park. At the Heavenly Acres Trailer Park. Sitting on the porch in the leather recliner, smoking them Marlboro Reds.
Well, that was Heavenly Acres for you there. I hope you liked it. Some of these songs that I'm doing, you don't always have a good story behind them, because a lot of times you just go into a writing session with a blank sheet of paper and a guitar and see what you can come up with. But some songs have some really good little stories behind them, and this is one of them. I will always remember writing this song. It's a special song to me, and I hope you liked it. So I'm going to tell you one story so that you can understand the story writing this song. There's a songwriter in Nashville through the years that's the most successful songwriter in country music of all time. His name was Harlan Howard. He's passed on now, but he is considered the greatest country songwriter. And at one point in his career, he did an interview, and somebody asked him, they said, what makes the perfect country song? And he replied, he said, three chords and the truth. So it's standard here in Nashville that's pretty much the formula for writing a great country song is three chords and the truth. Well, he used to always have lunch down at the Longhorn, downtown Nashville here, and so I wanted to meet him, and people would always go by his table and shake his hand, and he kept a good tabs on what was happening around town, and he knew everybody. And so I went to lunch there one day and said, I'm going to go up and shake his hand. I just wanted to shake his hand because he was a legend. And so I go up to his table. There's a couple people ahead of me, and I waited my turn, and I shook his hand. He goes, well, I don't know you, son. What's your name? And I told him, and we had a mutual friend named Ray Sanders, and I told him that Ray said if I ever met him to tell him hi. And we talked about Ray Sanders for a couple minutes, and he asked me, he says, what are you doing in Nashville? And I said, well, I've come to be a songwriter. And he goes, well, that's just what Nashville needs is another songwriter. And we all laughed, and he says, well, every new songwriter in town wants to ask old Harlan a question. You got a question for me? Well, I didn't really. I just wanted to shake his hand, and I thought, my mind is racing, and I thought, well, what can I say that would make him laugh and make him remember me? And so I quickly came up with, I said, well, you said at one point that the perfect country song was three chords and the truth. He goes, well, that's right, I did, and I still believe it to this day. And I said, yeah, but what if your life's boring? And I thought he'd laugh and slap his knee and tell everybody I was just a genius. And he didn't even smile. He looked at me and he goes, I said three chords in the truth, son, not three chords in the facts. And if you stop and think about it, that's pretty profound. And it's probably the best advice I've ever been given since coming to Nashville. And I always try in my songs to have truth, but I make stuff up all the time. My brother says I'm pretty liberal with the truth at times, which I am. You know, I just make stuff up. But I try and have that kernel of truth so that somebody else who's listening can say, oh yeah, I can relate to that. So anyway, that was a big highlight of my life to meet him and to have him say that. And so anyway, that's pretty much guided my writing ever since then. So let's zip up a few years, and Tom Botkin and I have become really good friends, and we write a bunch of songs together. And he had this idea of a trailer park song, and he started telling me about it. And I'm up at his house. We had a writing session, and this was his idea. And he's said, I need help with it because I'm not quite sure where I want to go with it. And so he told me what he had, and it was a little on the dark side, you know. It wasn't a real happy song. And I was like, it's kind of dark, Tom. And he goes, yeah. He says, I don't know how to fix that. And I immediately thought of a song that the Beatles had written called Penny Lane. And it was this magical musical tour of a street where he grew up. And I always wanted to go there. I always wanted to see it. I wanted to be there with the magic firsthand. So I had the opportunity one time to go to Liverpool, England, and I took a Beatles tour, and one of the places we went was Penny Lane. And I'm walking down the street, and I'm looking in the shops and everything, and I turn around, walk down the other side of the street, and I'm kind of looking at, like, well, this is just a normal everyday, ordinary street. I mean, there wasn't anything magical about it. And I was kind of depressed. So I'm sitting there on the curb, just kind of mulling this over, and I was kind of disappointed how it was just normal. And it dawned on me that what made it magical was Paul McCartney's memories. And it was his writing, not the street, that made it magical. And so with that in mind, I went up and down the street again and tried to walk in Paul's shoes as a kid, and then knowing he moved away and he had this great memory of home. So anyway, I told Tom about this, and I said, I'd like to make this a country Penny Lane. We both have been extremely poor in our lives. We both lived in trailer parks. I even lived under a bridge for 9 months. And I've always managed to find the silver lining behind the cloud, and it was always an adventure for me. And so I told him, I said, let's try and make this a day in the life of somebody who doesn't have a whole lot except the people around him and the sense of community. And I came up with the line, we barely mind, barely getting by. And Tom goes, okay, that tells us where we're going. So the rest of the song didn't take that long. We had a title for it. I think it was called Starlight Sunshine Trailer Park. And neither one of us liked it, but we said we'd come back to that. And we started writing the song. It didn't take us long to write it once we had that couple line vision. And then we finished the song and we were like, oh, we didn't use the line. So we quickly added a bridge and put it in the bridge. But we tried like 15 different titles for it. And always, every trailer park I've ever been to and lived in had these real lofty names for them. You know, it's like they were always this wonderful thing. And then you go in and there'd be cars on blocks, and refrigerators in the middle of the road, and all that kind of stuff. So we just couldn't find a title. So we said, well, we've spent enough time on this, so let's just call it a day and we'll sleep on it and come back to the title. So anyway, we said goodnight, and it's about an hour drive from Tom's house to mine, so I'm driving home, and sure enough, there was a trailer park on the way home, and I looked to see what it was called, and it was like out of a movie. It had the brick entrance into the trailer park, and inside you could see everybody was out on their front porches drinking beer and having a good old time, and there were cars on blocks, and you could tell it was a really low income place. And the name of the park was called Heavenly Acres. And just like out of a movie, the E and the A on the Heavenly were kind of falling down. And it was perfect. And I drove through the trailer park, and I called Tom up, and I said, I think we got our title. I think it's called Heavenly Acres. And he goes, and I described the place to him, and he goes, that's just perfect. And so then we had our title, and then we did the demo. And we had a great time doing it. And so I hope you liked the song. Hopefully it's not too negative. I wanted to make it a real positive experience because we'd had positive experiences. And it's not all factual, but it is truthful. So anyway, thank you for listening. Once again, if anybody needs to contact me, my email is abnormanmusic@gmail.com. If you want a production or you want to do some co-writing, whatever you want to do, even if you just want to chat, send me an email, and have a great week, and we'll see you next week.